In order to achieve the goal of moksha, or liberation, or freedom, the understanding is that certain sacrifices have to be made. And eventually we have to get to the point of freedom from all karmic activities. When we look at a story in the Puranas, the histories of the Vedic culture, we find that there are all kinds of personalities that are living in the Vedic civilization. There are the people in the caste system who are all following the Vedic culture, and there's people that are not in the caste system, and they are following their own either familial or other kinds of culture. And we see one story of a hunter named Magira and a sage called Narada Muni. Narada Muni was a traveling ascetic, a rishi, that would go around and share Vedic culture. And the story of Magira, the hunter, is a story of someone who is outside of the caste system and who is not following the Vedic culture. The story goes like this. One day, Narada Muni is walking through the forest. And as he's walking through the forest, there is a deer that is injured from an arrow wound, and it's hobbling along. And the sage is very concerned because he's naturally compassionate. And as he goes on further, he sees that there's a bird that has also been struck by an arrow that is struggling and is still alive. And as he's going through the forest, he's seeing more and more of these animals that have been pierced with arrows and are slowly dying. And he's getting a little upset, and he's wondering who could be creating so much distress. So Narada Muni is a follower of Vedic culture, and this history is showing that he's very concerned about the suffering of these animals. And Magira is not part of the Vedic culture. He's outside of it, and he's hunting. When he finally meets this hunter, he begs him to please stop the cruelty of slowly shooting and creating these injuries to these animals, which are going to cause their death slowly, painfully. Magira gives a good argument, saying, but this is what my family has done. This is what my culture has taught me to do. This is how I make a living. And Narada Muni asks him, but why is he only partially killing them? It's creating so much suffering for them. And Magira explains how that's how his father taught him to do this. And so he continues the tradition on. After some point, the sage is explaining that in the human form of life, we don't have to create such suffering for living beings. And that we don't have to, as a matter of fact, we don't have to kill at all. The hunter doesn't believe this, doesn't believe that there's a culture, that there's a society that could facilitate someone not to do their practice of, say, hunting. But the sage convinces him, and the hunter somehow or another is able to accept the words of Narada Muni. And he agrees to stop hunting under one condition, that somehow or another Narada Muni will take on the responsibility of making sure that him, his wife, and his family are taken care of and fed. In order for this stipulation to work, Narada Muni says, then you must sit here and you must do some cultivation. You must become renounced from the world, and naturally everyone will come and they will offer you luscious grains, vegetables, fruits, and all other kinds of produce that does not come from the killing of animals. So Meghera the hunter accepts this advice, and he enters into the Vedic culture. He enters into the forest-dwelling life. And in that realm, he is cultivating, he is meditating, he is practicing compassion and following the advice of the sage Narada. From doing this, the locals make offerings to him, and he is free to live a cruel, free, vegetarian life. The animals in the forest are freed from the suffering, and Meghera and his wife are able to live a simple, happy, free existence, meditating on the absolute truth given to him by Narada Muni.